Hello and welcome to part 2 of this big painting. I'm very aware it's been quite a while since we painted this initial first coat of the face, but a few things have been taking over, like the mushroom launch that's upcoming, etc. So I haven't done anything else on it, but since doing this initial coat, I'm just not sure this is the direction I want to go. I don't know whether I want to continue trying to work in realism or whether I want to be a little bit more abstract, but I still haven't made my mind up on it. So that's what we're going to do today, is make our mind up and do a little bit more on this and basically film a part 2. So I hope you've watched part 1. If not, go watch that now. I'll link it up in the card here, and then we'll get on with part 2. So let's just get on with painting something. Strap in, you are in for quite a roller coaster. I definitely stood here for quite a long time. I basically wasted loads of time squeezing paint out, trying to come up with what I want to do as I did so. I did have a little peruse on Pinterest, trying to decide kind of a route to go. There's a lot of abstract paintings on there, some really nice looking ones, and I kind of saw a few that was a bit more of a painterly style, and I kind of like that. I liked the bold brushstrokes, the large areas, and that's kind of what drove me to do these next clips. So I started off trying to paint in these sunglasses that the reference image had on, where I'd randomly left these patches which look a bit weird, like I've mispainted the face or something, but it is in fact left for sunglasses. So I started painting these lenses in. I did a really thin glaze of cadmium yellow and some white and just went over what I'd already painted. I was kind of hoping that that would allude to the sunglasses and that would look very nice. Then I move on to the neck. I start darkening that, but I definitely relied heavily on adding black to my paint mixtures to darken them. And as much as I know not to do that, I paint with many mediums and I know not to do that. Black is not the answer to darkening a colour. I did it anyway for some reason, and it definitely muddied up the colour a bit too much, and that's the point that I think started to make me really want to change the direction that I was moving in. It just muddied, and I could see on the face I'd done the same thing, and I don't know why I was doing it. Like I say, I know not to do that. It was just, I don't know. I don't know. But after I did the neck, I started to fill in the hair. I was basically trying to block things out. I was trying to cover up this pink. It was really distracting me. I was not enjoying the pink at all. I think it had been sat in my studio for too long and it had just been in the background, and I was really just sick of seeing the sight of this pink canvas with this weird face on it. So I started to block things in, like the hair, and then moved on to the ear. So I didn't spend too long on the ear, because I just also was not enjoying it. I was not enjoying the look of it. I couldn't get the shading correctly. I think basically I'd given myself such a time crunch to film this part 2 and do this painting that I just wasn't giving myself that time to really work in the detail and not rush it, and I think that really shows for this section. And I definitely come to terms with the fact that this is not the direction I want to go in, hence why I kind of crammed this footage into 4 minutes long, just so that we could get it out the way and move on. And that, my dear watchers, is the face of a very unhappy artist that is going through a little bit of turmoil and really just questioning absolutely everything I was doing. So again, like I mentioned earlier, I just wanted to get rid of this pink. I wasn't happy with the hand going over the head. It was just not necessary. I didn't really feel like that was going to be part of this image, and I do wish I'd painted this face a little bit more central and not really focus on the fact that she was holding her hand over her head. So I added some Prussian blue, some cadmium red, and some white, and I just went in there with the palette knife, spread it about a little bit, and then I was just being a bit more careless and used a brush to smush that around and really hide that pink and create a much bolder, more interesting colour, which I definitely prefer the look of. But I definitely had some issues with this painting. I just wasn't enjoying it. I know I keep saying that, but I just really wasn't enjoying it. And I hope this is a reflection of what being an artist is actually like. You're not going to produce something that you enjoy every single time you create. You're not going to always love the things you're doing, and you're not going to enjoy every stage of what you're doing. And I think that's really important to know and to realise. I know when I started watching YouTube and I started following artists, I remember thinking, why does everyone always seem to produce such amazing artwork? You watch Jess Carp and everything she produces is perfection and honed and really lovely and amazing, but I can assure you she will sit there and produce artwork she does not like. And I think it's really important to learn that and to know that that is happening, and to take a step back and reevaluate and change your ideas and come up with something a bit different, and maybe don't push your boundaries so much. This painting is all about pushing my boundaries. I'm not a portrait artist, it's not something I work with, and oil paintings I do very frequently. It's very sparsely. I don't really do them at all, and so this was really pushing my boundaries, and maybe I'm pushing it too much, I don't know. I'm really struggling with it. But this is the point where I started to cover the face. I started to paint in the face thinking, oh, I'm going to do this painterly style I've seen on Pinterest. I'm going to be really rough with it. I'm not going to curve off the face. It's going to have brush strokes and boldness and bright colours, and you're going to see the paint and not see them, you know, you're not going to have a fine gradient of mix. It's going to be very bold, very painterly is the word that was constantly in my head whilst I was doing this. And I really did start to lean into it, and a part of me was like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. And then I got to this mouth area where I'd done this fine blending and shading, and I was starting to get a bit anxious and a bit nervous about it, and I was losing my sketch almost underneath. I didn't want to add the black, so I was struggling to create that shading. I definitely need to work on my colour theory a little bit more, and it kind of started to look a bit icky, and I didn't really like it, especially when I filled in these eyebrows. It just was not working for me. This is the moment where I'm silently, I don't know, losing my mind with this painting. It was definitely a point in which I was screaming internally and wishing this painting would go away, and I definitely started to cover this thinking, I'm just going to start anew and do something completely different. And if not for filming a part 1 to this, I definitely would have. But anyway, I covered this up like this, then decided I didn't want to do that. Why have I done that? And so I added tons and tons of mineral spirits and wiped all this wet paint off, because luckily our underpainting was dry. I'm hitting a real big art block, and as you can see, this canvas is so loose. Like, I already knew it was an old canvas anyway, that's why I wanted to try it on this, but it's really loose. Along here I'm hitting a lot of art blocks. I'm doing drastic things, hating the drastic things. I'm kind of trying to remove it back to the original painting-ish so I can at least see the sketch and where it was. I really loved the blue around it. I wish I'd not put it over his face, because that would have been nicer. I don't know, I just don't know what the direction is. I don't know whether this smoother textured painting that I did initially was just a bit too smooth, but it wasn't realistic enough, so I didn't really like it. The only bit I liked was the mouth. I just then started to try a bit more of a painterly type way of doing it, but again, I just wasn't, I don't know, I think I'm struggling to then go over this progress I'd made. That's why I did a drastic thing of covering it then, but then I didn't want to cover it too much, so I pulled it back. I don't know, there's just a lot going on, and I'm struggling with it. I've hit a massive art block with this. I think it's back to the drawing board. So after a long time, I used my iPad. I tried to put images over this and decide what I wanted to do with it. I haven't shown that because everything I did on that isn't the direction I went, but I spent hours and hours really toying with what I wanted to do. And then I just thought, let's merge two things. Merge my style, merge something I'm comfortable with something I'm not comfortable with. I still want to push myself. I still want to try doing this portraiture, but maybe I need to go in a different direction. And so I found this reference of a lovely, lovely tiger, and I thought it fit right in. I found the right angle, and I'm almost doing, I don't know whether you want to call it a bit of a merge of human and animal, or whether you want to see it as a mask. I don't know, but this is the direction I went with. I was a lot more comfortable mapping this out. Animals just come a lot easier to me, and I don't really know why, and it's something maybe I should have learnt on from the beginning, but this is what we did. It is a base layer, and it is just another part of a base layer, and you probably will have to come back and see a part 3. I think I go through that at the end, so I won't ramble on anymore. I do share my thoughts at the end anyway, but I hope you've enjoyed. I'll leave you to the rest of this video. So this is where we ended up with the painting. I did actually cover the whole face again, trying to blend it in and kind of meld this kind of painterly look, but I hated it again. So I covered it up and then washed it away, which I did have footage for, but I've cut out because you've seen me do that enough in this video. But I think this is a really good initial layer of this kind of tiger mask almost that she's wearing. I will obviously need to go back in and repaint this face, but and get rid of like this line, etc., but at least I can see my initial sketch and I can see where I'm going with that, and then I can hone up maybe doing all the wispy fur, etc., and really hone that. But that's basically where we are with this painting, so please let me know what you think I should add to this. There's obviously, let me try and go back a little bit further. There's obviously a lot of kind of negative space here. I will blend in that blue back into this and really mask it up. And I want to do something a little bit of abstract behind it. But if you have any other ideas, do let me know, because I have hit a brick wall a lot of times with this, and I have painted and repainted it multiple times, and you must be bored of seeing that. So I'd really like in part 3, and I apologize for there being a part 3, I will in part 3 really like to hone up this initial painting here, but really start to work on this background and what's behind it too. So please let me know your thoughts on that. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I know it's been a little bit up and down, and I do mention that in my voiceover, but It's kind of, I'm kind of showing you what it's like. You know, you don't always sit down and you immediately get out what you have planned on paper. Sometimes you can do it and you hate it, or you love it, and you change your plans and you adapt to what is kind of in front of you. And I feel like I've started to do that, and I really wanted to show that process and how I've been managing that. And I hope it's not been too boring and arduous for you to kind of hear my thoughts as I'm painting, but sometimes this is the way it goes. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. If you have, please hit that thumbs up and comment down below what you think I should do with this painting, and I hope to see you in the next one. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.